So I was talking to one of my clients the other day, actually one of my new clients who just come on board with me, and they asked me a really interesting question. They said, from the perspective of the owner of an agency that works with gyms all around the world, what would you do if you just one day woke up overnight and you owned a gym? And I thought that was quite an interesting question. So in this video, I'm going to go over the 4 things from the perspective of an agency owner as to what I would do if I woke up overnight as a gym owner. Now, the first thing I would do is ensure that I had a constant supply of new and fresh leads encountering my business. Now, the reason for this is if you don't have a constant source, and I say the word constant because if you don't have a constant source of new leads encountering your business, you'll never experience consistent and constant growth. You might grow overall, but it won't be sort of a linear progression. It will be, cyclical. And as such, when you're growing in a cyclical nature, as I'm sure you can relate to, it's never easy enjoyment related growth. It's typically quite painful. And this is a mistake that I see in a lot of new gyms, especially that join the agency. Typically they, or previously at least, they relied on, more of a sporadic source of leads. So for example, when it would go to summer, they'd obviously get more walk-ins for their gym and they'd rely on that. But then when it turned to winter, they'd obviously get not as many leads and they wouldn't sort of do anything to address that. And that's a really big mistake because, as I just mentioned, if you don't have a constant source of leads, you won't have a constant and consistent source of growth. That's the first thing I would do. I'd ensure that I had a consistent and constant source of leads. Now, the next thing you want is a repeatable and near identical sales system. Now, I did a video already on this, so if you're interested, I'll leave the link to that video in the description. But to summarize, when it comes to implementing a good sales system for your gym, I don't just want a system that works and that sells consistently. I want a system that is repeatable. So that way, when it comes to training new staff, it saves you tons and tons and tons of headaches when it comes to basically teaching them that process. Because even I can relate to this in my own business. If I have a completely different sales process every single time, even if I'm an absolute sales whiz and I can convert at 90%, the best I'm probably going to be able to sort of train a new sales rep or a new staff member to convert at is probably only like 20%, because at the end of the day, as a business owner, it's, easy and convenient to sort of just have a sales system or a sales routine just sort of, in the back of your mind that you can sort of just pull out every now and then. But when it comes to scaling your gym, training new staff, things of that nature, giving yourself more freedom, if it's not repeatable, then you're never going to be able to train a staff member to do, close to as good of a job as you can, because ultimately they're never going to be able to do as good a job as you unless they're, some absolute sales whiz with tons of sales experience. But ideally, you want the system to be repeatable so that it's 1, easy to train, but 2, easy to give feedback and improvement upon. Now, the next thing I do is I build a super large social media presence for my gym. Now, social media, obviously you already know this, it's a great tool for promotions, letting people know a bit more about your gym, yada yada. But I think the point that a lot of people don't touch on nearly as much as they should is these days, social media, and specifically social media followers, it's almost a bit of a sort of status symbol. And, to give you a quick example, let's say Gym X has 200 followers on their page and maybe 3 posts, compared to Gym Y, who has 2,000 followers on their page and maybe has daily content uploads, right? Gym Y, the page that has lots of followers, daily posts, is going to look far more community orientated. It's going to look far more reputable, even though that might not necessarily be the case, because you need to understand when someone's researching a potential gym to join, one place they're definitely going to check is first your website, but then your social media. And if your social media looks, for lack of a better word, a bit barren, then some prospects might assume that that also relates to your gym as well. So that's a really important point. And the fourth and final thing I would implement is basically countless social proof. Now, I did a video on how to take the perfect gym testimonial or fitness studio testimonial. If you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in description. But to summarize, just as social media followers and a high number of social media followers can indicate that, a gym has a sort of elevated social status, Google reviews or, high quality testimonials, things of that nature can indicate a successful business and, a happy clientele. And importantly, if you had something like, for example, countless video testimonials of some of your happy and existing clients, if a prospect was, for example, doing some research into your gym, but they're, a bit skeptical, maybe had a few doubts, hearing, some real people speak about your gym, but potentially even some of the concerns they had about your gym before joining, that can, in my experience, rather alleviate tons of skepticism and sort of just a bit of approach anxiety that your prospects can have, and it can really tip some of your prospects that are sort of on the fence about your gym into actual, paying members and clients. But that's it for this video. If you're interested about how you can get more members for your own fitness-related business, link in the description. Check it out. I think you'll very much enjoy it. But other than that, like, subscribe, and thanks very much.